Hey everybody, Ricky Henney, Jordan Bean here at Chargers Park, wrapping up the final piece of the offensive puzzle as we continue our positional previews with a look at the offensive line. And Ricky, heading into week number 1 last year, the Chargers kept a number of offensive line on that roster. So when fans look at the roster this year, heading into training camp, obviously it's a numbers game. So how many Chargers offensive linemen do you think are going to come out of this training?
Well, based on the past, I think you're looking at 9 or 10 guys on the active roster and maybe 2 or 3 on the practice squad. And when you look at this roster itself, there's so many players who were on this team that were here last year, and obviously we're looking forward. But when we talk about the offensive line group, you have to mention last year. They did not perform anywhere near expectations, but all these guys are back. And the main reason is because this Chargers front office and coaching staff believes in this talent. And last year, it was mainly health reasons. They just couldn't stay on the field. If they could stay on the field, deliver on that talent, I think you're looking at a completely different offensive line, but with the same players.
Last year was a huge investment on the offensive line, both in size, in terms of height, and also in money. When you bring in a guy like Orlando Franklin, you make a bigger investment in King Dunlap. You've talked to all of these guys who returned. What is the message that you're getting from them about the way they played last year and how they plan to change it for 2016?
Redemption. Honestly, redemption is something that maybe they didn't use the exact word, all of them, but every single player said one reason or another, they want to prove why they were brought in, why they signed those big contracts, what they're capable of doing. I think King Dunlap and Orlando Franklin played only 6 games together and maybe only 1 when both were at full health. So they really are so determined to prove who they are, to live up to the name on the back of their jerseys and say, this is who I stand for. Another thing to watch when you come into training camp is Jeff Davidson. There are a number of new coaches here. This is the offensive line coach. He's someone who's really put his imprint on this team already in the way they run through drills, how they practice. So again, while we have the same players here, check out Coach Davidson, the drills he does with them, and how that whole thing is moving along.
Well, Ricky, one player that wasn't here in 2015 and for most of 2016 was Matt Slauson, brought in from the Chicago Bears after they cut him to solidify that center position. And for the center for the Chargers, the last 2 years have been very tough. Since our good friend Nick Hardwick retired, they've been running through centers like you and I run through Chargers polos, which we've collected a lot of in our time here in Murphy Canyon. What do you think Matt Slauson brings to this Chargers offensive line group?
Grittiness. You look at him.
Careful, Danny Woodhead's going to be very jealous.
That's true, but he gives him a run for his money. He has that nasty demeanor that people love in offensive linemen. You know, you talked about our good friend Nick Hardwick. He loves Matt Slauson too. You just see it the way he practices. And there's some guys you want to see in training camp, and there's some guys you can't wait to see in games. And he's a guy I can't wait to see in a game because he could unleash that nasty attitude and on the other team. But that is a big piece the Bolts brought in. And then you add Max Turk in the draft, and he didn't do that much in the offseason as he rehabbed, but he's another player at the center position. And of course, Chris Watt's here when he gets healthy. So there are 3 guys who are capable of playing the center position and maybe even the guards to keep an eye on.
So hopefully that offensive line group, new center, new offensive line coach, you're going to see new results in 2016. Check these guys out at training camp. That starts just a couple of weeks from now here in Murphy Canyon. For Ricky, I'm Jordan. Join us next time when we take a look at the defensive line.